Come with me while I show you how to pop together some fast, cold summertime snacks while we partake in the official New England sport, treasure hunting for antiques. It's deep into late summer in Connecticut, and I'm about to show you the difference between tourism and local when it comes to treasure hunting, the places you need to visit, and the things that you can still do before the summer ends. In today's episode, we're going to turn $15 into about $400 in antiquing valuables with an incredible find. We're going to avoid the sludge of chemically processed eating with 5 minutes in the kitchen so that we can go outside and enjoy the slow life under the summer sun. Welcome to Cottage DIY. It's August, and we're just a few weeks from stepping into the most magical time of the year in New England. But while we have a few weeks left, we need to get some of these summertime activities swept out of the way. So let's throw together some snacks and see what treasures fall into our path today. I'm going to explain to you how to go treasure hunting in New England. Now, there are a few ways that you can do it depending on what you're looking for. You can absolutely find an antique store packed full of curated valuables owned by a person who knows exactly what he's selling. So if you want to cut right to the chase and go look for art or antiques being sold at their value, you do have hundreds of places to shop in New England. And the reason that it will always draw tourists is because New England is older than the rest of the country, so you will find piles of older things here than you would in other places. And because of that, the market changes for, say, a 200-year-old spinning wheel in Massachusetts that are found everywhere, compared to, say, in New Mexico, where they're far more rare and they might fetch a higher value. Locals here, however, have made a sport out of thrifting, where you can find uncurated antiques if you're willing to look through piles of general donations. Now, the largest and the easiest donation centers in the Northeast to access are the Goodwill stores, which are not exactly the charities one might think they are, or at least they're not set up in the way you intuitively might think. And because of that, there is a lot of misconception about what you can find here. Now, first of all, Goodwills are not all run by the same organizations, so rules and policies can vary depending on what location you find yourself. The prices will vary, but most importantly, items that come out onto the floor are not heavily filtered for valuables first. In each store, their perception of what is valuable changes from staff to staff depending on what store you walk into. So while the weirdest things will be locked behind a case with a high ticket mark, there are some real valuable things that can be found on the shelves marked for $1. In fact, there's so much potential for high value antiques that I will regularly pick up antiques that could be worth $80 to $100 that are always marked for $1.99, and I'll put them right back on the shelves. And partly it's because I'm not a reseller, so I have no intention of trying to make money on things that I'm picking up. And there's just so much of it that by the time I put something down, my eye has already caught another antique. So it's just not possible to buy all the antiques. Now, another thing that you would never know as a tourist is that it seems that different parts of New England value different items. So for example, on the shore of Connecticut, people are very often looking for clothing secondhand. And so your china and your furniture very often seems like it's perceived as low value. But if you travel up to eastern Massachusetts, clothing seems cheaper while the art is more easily recognized. Now, over the last few years, you may have heard a myth about the change in thrift prices because some of these stores have started to become more expensive. And many people say that resellers and flippers have ruined it for the lower income shoppers, the people who need to actually buy clothes and household items. This is a complete myth. Resellers have no impact on the health of a thrift store. Your resellers have always existed. You just see them more prominently nowadays. So in every thrift store, there's plenty of stuff left over for everyone once your flippers come and go. When you're walking into these big, large chain thrift stores, these corporations are just opportunists. They know that with rising costs all over, they can get away with it. It's just as simple as that. What you want to do when you walk into any of these stores is you really want to try to hone in and identify what that store doesn't really care about. So let's go take a look at the treasures that we found today. This crackle glass skeleton head is certainly no antique, but it did retail just a few years ago for $50 when it was on store shelves. And today I picked it up for $4.99. And with a half a dozen kids running around, this is going to make a nice Halloween decor for the kids. It's a heavy piece of glass, and it's worthy of being kept in a seasonal collection so that it can be used again, and it won't end up being that recyclable crap that's just thrown away at the end of the season. So to me, this is worth $5. Now, I did manage to score a few pieces of mix and match china, which are mostly Lenox and a piece of Spode. Now, I bought these for a photography project for $1 a piece. In the particular thrift store that I'm standing in, it looks like they don't really curate their china very well, and almost everything is marked for 99 cents. Now, Lenox is an American company that makes a premier china, and these pieces are actually worth about $10 a piece. With the cup and saucer together, a matching piece, you could get as much as $35 for this particular cup. Now, this doesn't really mean too much for me because I don't have a list of Lenox buyers in my pocket, but what it does mean is that when I'm done enjoying these pieces for my project, I can set them out in a yard sale and someone will buy them for the price that I paid in just a matter of hours. These pieces won't be left over and I won't have junk collecting over time. So yes, I will get my $1.99 back. I might even get $5 in about 3 or 4 hours if I put this on a table out in my front yard. Over here, I've picked up a set of 4 cups and saucers made from bone china in Germany right around the 1920s. Now, this is part of a fairly well-known early 20th century tea set. Each piece here was $1, and this set of 8 pieces is worth about $80, and it's very often traded in secondhand markets. These little teacups caught my eye because they're so delicate and floral. I thought I'd take them home and just set them up, play with them, and look at them for a while. And again, these will be out in my front yard eventually, maybe next year, maybe throughout my next yard sale, and they definitely will go out the door for about $2 to $4 a set. And I'll either double my $8 price or someone else will come along and recognize that they're worth a little bit more. Even so, my intent is not to really profit off these pieces, despite the fact that I do recognize that these are absolutely valued by some collectors. Now, let's move on to the real treasure, the real score for today. We're looking at this James Sadler teapot. We have the matching sugar bowl and the creamer and a plate that came along with it. This teapot alone is valued anywhere from $200 to $400, and each one of these pieces that it comes with can be sold on the secondhand market from $80 to $100. So for a total of $15, I've scored a small collection that could resell from anywhere, realistically, from $300 to $600, depending on the day. And this was all just from stopping off at the local Connecticut Goodwill. You'll find that these stores are absolutely packed with valuables if you just spend a little bit of time training your eye and you're willing to shuffle through some of the junk to see it. If any of these pieces were sitting on the shelves in a Connecticut antique store, you could have easily seen this James Sadler have a markup, have a tag on it for $125 to $250 easily sitting on the shelves, and that would have been considered a steal on an antique shelf. So the fact that you can find these pieces sitting single-handedly for $4 and $5 a piece is absolute treasure hunting, and you will find it almost every time that you walk into one of these stores. Now, if thrifting makes you hungry, let's stop by a farm stand to see what fresh produce has hit the shelves before we go home and make some snacks. New England is covered in farm stands of every size, from full co-op grocery stores to large farm-to-table stores that are built right into the side of a farm on the side of the road. Or you could even find small side-of-the-road egg sheds where you can drop money into an honor box and take a collection of eggs from someone's backyard. If you know where to look, you can find all of these places to stop and scoop your lunch. Today we're going to pop over to the Clover Nook Farm in Bethany, Connecticut, and grab some dill for some pickled snacks. Now I'm going to pick up some Saturn peaches and a zucchini and a squash for supper. I really don't need these things. I'm really just going to drop $10 just to support the local economy, but farm stand shopping is mostly a high tourist activity. They're beautiful to drive into, to stop, look around, take some photos. And despite the fact that you might think that it's cheaper to buy direct from the farm, it's absolutely not. It's far more expensive. And I'll show you in a minute what the difference looks like. But let's go ahead and get out of here and go on home. In the kitchen, we're going to put some eggs and pickles in the fridge for snacks for later in the week. Now the kids are passing through this kitchen, and if I stock the fridge with things that are easy to grab and snack on, then everybody will be less likely to find some junk food. So let's do that. Now in this project today, we're not going to be going through all the preservation protocols for our canned food, so don't panic when you see how fast and loose we throw this together. We're just making snacks that are meant to sit in the refrigerator for the next 3 days or so, that's all. We're going to go ahead and boil our eggs and wash up our pickles. These came from the farm, so I'm going to float everything in vinegar and salt and water for just a little while, and then we'll rinse everything off. Chop up all of our cucumbers and the pieces that will go with it. And for this, we have a combination of pickles, dill, mustard seed, red onions, garlic, and some jalapenos. Now take a quick look at the difference in these two piles of dill. The dill on the left was bought for about $5 over at the farm stand that we just left, while the pile on the right was bought at the grocery store for the exact same price. There's no difference in quality. This is pretty typical. Your big chain grocery store is going to be far more economical for you to buy all of your fresh produce. Now the farm stands, they're for novelty and tourism. And before you start to think about which grocery store you'll do better at or which grocery store will have better quality, the supply chain feeds every store from the same source with almost all of your food. I'll show you a difference in the local grocery stores versus the larger big chain stores compared to the tourist stores in another video. But for this purpose, just so you know, when you come here as a tourist or if you're traveling through, it does not matter where you shop. Everything is really coming from the same source unless you go into a small stand or you're actually coming from some domestic produce resource off the side of the road. I think of the supply chain in New England as very delicate because should anything be disrupted, everything will be diminished from every store you walk into, no matter where you go. So in some senses, our local produce is far more valuable and important than people really realize. And it's important to support that when you can. And it is more expensive to get access to a smaller farm stand than it is to your big chain. So it's a little bit of a catch-22. Okay, back to our pickles. Now, once fresh veggies and spices fill the jar, we'll pour our brine. And the brine here is a 1 part vinegar to water in the jars. You don't have to boil it, but if you're going to add in a little bit of sugar and salt, then what we're going to do is we're going to warm up this concoction just enough to get the salt and the sugar melted into the brine. So here I've added just a little bit of salt and sugar. We've got about 1 to 2 tablespoons of salt and 4 tablespoons of sugar for 12 cups of brine, and the 12 cups of fluid is going to fill 4 jars. Once we get all of this piled together, we'll cap it and refrigerate. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same with a few dozen eggs. This one here's my favorite. And I've got one kid who loves the spice world, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a buffalo pickle for her. So despite the fact that we'll do 2 jars of eggs with the same concoction that we did our pickles, we're going to go ahead and make up a little bit of a sauce with a bottle of Texas Pete. We're going to fluff it up with a stick of butter, and we're going to pour that together with our vinegar and our water brine. And then you can still add the sugar to taste if you want to. We'll pour this over our eggs, and these yummy snacks will be cold and spicy in about 24 hours. And there we have it. Minus the time that it took to boil the eggs, this took no more than 10 minutes. And it's a way better snack than anything that comes out of a package. Now, summer isn't quite over yet. We have a few destinations to hit as a local before the seasons change. So if you're considering taking a ride out to Salem, Massachusetts for its tourist season, you might be interested in taking a ride up there with me just before the tourist season hits, so we can get into all the good stores before the tourists arrive. I've got some secrets to show you, and if you're charmed by New England living, be sure to follow along because I know the back roads.